Hello and welcome to KentOnline live on KMTV. I'm Keelan Webster. Your top stories on Wednesday the 28th of November. Roadwork worry. Time ticking to tackle Tunbridge traffic troubles.
2.5 days to have all that done is, optimistic.
Brexit blues for Brock. No deal could cause major disruption on Kent's motorways.
The impact will be felt on every road in every community in our county.
Riches for Ramsgate's Rock. Prestigious gardens given preservation investment.
What an amazing attraction, and lit up at night, it draws people from miles away.
And in sport, the only way is up. Dover make it back-to-back league wins for the first time in 7 months.
First this evening, the misery may soon be over for thousands of Kent drivers who face long delays commuting to Tunbridge. But businesses in the town say they're still unsure if roadworks by Tunbridge Station will end on time after they were already delayed earlier this year. The project, which cost £500,000, has caused traffic chaos in the town centre, as Christina Curtis has been to find out.
After months of improvement works around Tunbridge Station, there is still a lot of confusion as to when the work is actually set to be completed. The £500,000 project was started in July and was originally set to end in the autumn, with the most disruptive works predicted to be finished before the end of the summer holidays. However, the traffic problems and delays continued well into this month. KCC said that the majority of main construction work should be completed by the end of the month, which is this Friday, apart from resurfacing works, which are due to start tonight, the 28th of November, and last for 5 days. Yet signs around town said that the overnight closures are set to last for 8 nights instead of 5, and there will still be some pavement work to be done, according to KCC. Long-suffering businesses along the road say although the end could be in sight, they aren't hopeful for the main roadworks to be completed on schedule.
What are we now? Wednesday, so 2.5 days to have all that done is, optimistic. There's been traffic all through the day up until kind of 6 o'clock in the evening, even late at night, and it's queuing right back. It's definitely having a knock-on effect on the traffic. And I think potentially, whereas people would pull up round the back and stop in and see us, we may have lost some trade through that.
I mean, I wouldn't have said so personally, but then I'm not doing what they do, and I'm not going to hold my breath. It does get very boring looking at it all day, and you just hope that when they've all gone, the traffic will flow better, as they said it will, and things will be improved. So we'll wait and see. As you said,
time will tell.
Time will tell, and I don't think you're not going to stop the quantity of traffic that goes through Tunbridge, and that is more of an issue, I think, than actually the roadworks per se.
A spokesman from Kent County Council said 5 nights of resurfacing works start tonight, and from tonight there should be no day works on the highway. Once completed, it's all done road-wise. There will be some pavement works, but they shouldn't interfere with the normal flow of people walking, as it's a wide area. KCC appreciates these works are disruptive to residents and visitors to the town, and we can only apologise for this. Although it's still unclear when these works will be completely finished. When they finally do, the question then will be whether the months of motor misery were really worth it. This is Christina Curtis for KMTV.
Plans for a huge quarry in Ryash may still go ahead, despite the council agreeing it shouldn't be built. Councillors had proposed the site in Ryash to help meet a shortfall of sand, but at a meeting today, a legal challenge from developers means a decision is now on hold. Harry Pete has more on this and joins me now. Harry, yesterday it seemed as though it was all over, so this has come as a bit of a shock today. Yeah, that's right. So the last few days or so here on KMTV, as well as online and on various social media pages, we've been running through the report that Kent County Council had drawn up in their assessment of the 9 sites that they'd seen as suitable for a potential quarry. One of those, of course, was in Ryash, and the reports from Kent County Council, which we report on yesterday, suggested that they deemed the site unsuitable, and they'd also said it was inappropriate for development. So today we were at the council meeting to discuss the different sites and what would happen with Ryash, and you know, ahead of it, everyone from Ryash and ourselves were kind of expecting the council to
agree with what was in the report and then move on to eventually the point where, because there's even the report, it says that it's inappropriate for development, but that doesn't necessarily mean it would still go ahead. But for all intents and purposes, the report suggested that the council would go ahead with what was in the report and essentially withdraw Ryash from the proposed sites. However, there was a bit of a bomb dropped in the meeting today, and a legal challenge was put forward by the people who are promoting the site in Ryash. And here's a Kent County Council's reaction to what was brought up this morning.
We have concluded that the ancillary activities, the stockpiles, the bunds, the compounds and the like are inappropriate development for which there are no special circumstances to justify allocation. The advice before you suggests that we should have considered those ancillary activities as part of the extraction activity, and therefore to split it into three is a flawed process, and it draws attention to a case law that says that those ancillary activities are an integral part of mineral working.
So developers have launched their legal challenge. What else have they had to say?
Yeah, so from what we heard from Sharon there, what this legal opposition is about is that they say that in the assessment of the greenbelt that the council did, they put it all under one roof. The actual what it mean for the actual extraction in the area of the sand, but also they included what it would mean for when there's diggers in the area and buildings and all sorts that are associated with the extraction. And the developers said no, they should all be dealt with separately and assessed separately, and they've said that the allocation is flawed and should be reconsidered on a proper legal basis before the allocation process goes any further. And they say that if the council don't do so, they say that the plan that they're putting forward will be unsound. So we'll see where the council go with that, because I believe they're now seeking legal advice on where to go.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on that one. Harry, thanks very much indeed. Next, Kent roads could be set for gridlock in the event of a no-deal Brexit. That's according to a major report issued by the government, sparking fears the county's roads could still be brought to a standstill. Tunbridge and Malling MP Tom Tugendhat's called for more to be done to avert a crisis on our roads. Poppy Jeffrey spoke to him.
Gridlock is a real possibility in Kent after Brexit. A report into the impact of leaving the EU on the county's roads has been looked at by KCC. Kent may need to accommodate delays of around 12 hours on the routes to the border and will need to cope with holding up to 10,000 lorries regularly. The report said that such congestion could exceed that of previous incidents experienced in Kent, including Operation Stack in 2015, which saw almost 7,000 HGVs contained on the M20 in Kent.
Well, look, we're extremely aware, as you know, that Op Stack, only a few years ago in 2015, really closed down a lot of roads in Kent, not just the motorways, which we used to park lorries on, but actually a lot of minor roads were closed because effectively the traffic just got so bad they were unusable.
But that's not all. Operation Brock, which would see lorries park on the M20 between junctions 8 £5 million, and preparation tests haven't even been carried out yet, according to a group of MPs. There are still concerns about the M26, where I am at the moment, being turned into a massive lorry park. Now, it's said that this will only be the case once space at Manston Airport and the M20 are full. However, the Public Accounts Committee has said that this use of the M26 will cause gridlock on Kent's roads.
And this is where we really need the Department for Transport to be working not just with Highways England, but actually also with Kent County Council and with many other borough and district councils around the area, because the impact will be felt on every road in every community in our county.
But are the government listening?
Look, I think they're listening, but I think they've got some very difficult decisions to make, and they're, at the moment we're not seeing as much action as fast as we'd like. I mean, the reality is, if you, as we know, if you interrupt the flow of traffic between Dover and Calais, then it has a massive impact on our roads. And if you don't put into place the preparations that I'd like to see, which would hold lorries back in the Midlands and in the north of the country, you end up basically carrying that entire burden in Kent, and I don't think that's acceptable.
With only 4 months to go until we leave the EU, is this going to be enough time to sort out what could spell gridlock for Kent? This is Poppy Jeffrey for KMTV.
Libraries across Kent could be facing cuts to opening times if a proposal by Kent County Council goes ahead. The plans would keep all of Kent's libraries open but cut many of their hours in an attempt to save money. But how big an impact will this have on Kent? And when was the last time you visited a library? We asked shoppers in Chatham.
It was either the 1960s or the 1970s. I've never been a big reader. So.
Oh, maybe about the 80s.
In Strood last week, and I'm a regular visitor, so I'll go once a month.
It must have been 4 or 5 years ago at least. Yeah, I don't use the libraries. Normally buy books and read them that way.
It was yesterday actually. I was looking for some photography books to research because I do photography in school.
I do visit library, not frequently, but 2 times a week, yeah. Especially Saturdays and Mondays.
Oh, that would be like a couple of years, not even couple, but I would say about 10-ish. Yeah, 10-ish, definitely.
Probably about 3 months ago.
I personally have never been to a library. My husband, a long time ago. I'm no reader.
About a year ago.
I'll say mine was about a year ago.
Yes, but it wasn't for a book. I went in there to get some photocopying done.
Oh, it would have to be about a year ago, I think. Yeah, definitely, about at least a year ago.
Welcome back to KentOnline live on KMTV. A Kent school has given teachers a day off to go Christmas shopping in an attempt to improve their well-being. St Paul's Primary School in Swanley say they've given staff time off in December because mental health is nationally at an all-time low. But some parents are unhappy with the move, saying the school is setting a bad example. To discuss this in more detail, KMTV's health expert Dr. Julian Spinks joins me now. Julian, thanks for joining us as always. Firstly, what do you make of this? Is this good for people's well-being, or is it just a bit of a dodgy excuse just to get Christmas shopping done?
I must say that you're tempted to say, yeah, why should they have that time off? But then that's probably because we're not getting it ourselves. And I think there has been a move over the last decade for employers to be more focused on the bottom line and not really looking at welfare of staff. Because if you treat the people who work for you well, then they generally work harder for you. And I see more and more people coming in who are suffering from stress related to the amount of pressure they face at work. And so maybe something small like this to actually take that pressure off is a good idea.
And we've seen this also in Kent. We've seen the introduction of 4-day weeks. Is this something that employers are now taking more seriously, do you think?
Well, I think so. I remember as a child being told that by now we'd have very little work to do at all. We could actually relax most of the time, do a couple of hours a week and so on. And yet actually people are working longer than they used to do. And we need to get a better balance in the UK between work and between the ability to actually have that rest and relaxation that keeps you well, whether it's physical or mental. We can't keep going on saying people need to do more exercise and take breaks and so on if we won't let them do that.
And you said you've had patients coming in with stress-related illnesses. How much is this a problem, do you think, in the county?
Well, there's a real mix. We have some employers who are brilliant with their staff. They support them if they have, for example, a mental illness or a physical illness. Others who seem to think somehow it's being disloyal to the company to take any time off, even if you've broken a leg and you can't actually make it in. And, you know, the former need to be encouraged, the latter need to be re-educated themselves to say that actually if you don't support your staff, you won't get the best from them.
And elsewhere, today's news has come out that patients in Kent could soon have to go without the prescription of silk clothing, which can help things such as eczema. What do you make of that news?
Well, there's a series of things they've announced that potentially we won't prescribe anymore. One of those is silk clothing. I think some people are going to be very unhappy with this because they feel that it's the only thing that keeps their children's eczema down. And likewise, we're not going to be prescribing things like bath additives and shower emollients, which again helps keep the skin soft and moisturise it. So I think there may be unhappiness there, but it really reflects the fact the NHS is desperately trying to stay within budget, and they're looking very hard at anything that hasn't got very hard proof it's value for money.
And on the silk clothing, very quickly, they said that that really doesn't make too much of a difference to eczema. What are your experiences with that?
Well, my experience is that I've seen the odd child where it's made a big difference. It reduces the amount they scratch, and there is a scratch-itch cycle that happens with eczema, which makes the situation worse. So I think there needs to be a bit of flexibility, but it's not a universal panacea, and it is very expensive.
Julian, as always, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now with news of how Kent's football sides got on in midweek action, here's Joe with the sports.
First up in sport this evening, Dover made it back-to-back wins in the league for the first time since April. The Whites beat Boreham Wood 1-0 at Meadow Park last night thanks to a goal from in-form Ini Effiong. It was their first away win of the season as well and moves them much closer to safety. And boss Andy Hessenthaler says he's delighted his work on the training ground is finally coming to fruition.
I think it's been coming. We should have won at Harrogate. The first game I came in, we were a better team and unfortunately conceded late on. I thought at Halifax we definitely deserved something there. I mean, so I think the away win's been coming. But yeah, listen, it's a perfect performance tonight, a perfect result, 1-0 away from home, clean sheet. And, you know, it all went well. And to be fair, you've got to give the players so much credit at the moment. They're getting fitter, they're buying into how we want to do things.
Meanwhile, it was a disappointing result for Maidstone as they lost 3-1 to Eastleigh. It was a game boss Harry Wheeler wanted rearranged ahead of their Crunch FA Cup tie against Oldham on Saturday, but their opponents refused. The Stones conceded 3 cheap set pieces before Michael Phillips grabbed a consolation in the 89th minute. And the manager believes the fans deserve much more.
Everyone we brought in has been a good character. The people that have stayed here have been good characters, but suddenly, you know, you see after 2 losses, or when you go 2-0 down here, some people seem to lose their way, and it's bitterly disappointing. And there's a lot more work for us to do, and all we can do is, you know, apologise again to the fans because they don't deserve that. That's not good enough.
Sticking with football, and Dartford crashed out of the FA Trophy despite equalising in the 92nd minute. Goals from Andre Coker in the 89th and Taylor Fisher in the 92nd drew the darts level at 2-2 with Eastbourne. But it was heartbreak at Prince's Park when former darts defender Tom Gardner smashed home in the 95th minute to win it for the visitors. You're up to date on sport for the time being. I'll be back with more, including highlights from Gillingham's game with Bristol Rovers later on in the programme.
Next tonight, a gin festival which claims to be the biggest of its kind in the UK could be coming to Kent. The Great British Gin Festival has announced 2 dates in Folkestone and Tunbridge Wells next year, but needs gin lovers to register their interest for the dates to be confirmed. It comes as the drink is becoming more popular, and to talk about why this might be, I'm now joined by Matthew Russell from Chatham's Copper Rivet Distillery. Matthew, thanks ever so much for joining us. Firstly, what do you make of the news about the Gin Festival coming to the county?
I think it's great for the county. The Gin Festival is in some major cities around the UK, but it's not yet been down to Kent. So I think it'll be great for both the festival and for the people of Kent.
We just touched upon there how the drink is becoming more popular. Is that a trend you are seeing in the county at the moment?
I think it's something that has been trending for the last few years. I think the gin aficionados will appreciate that they've been enjoying the drink and the variety of drinks, gins that are out there for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's still on the increase, which is great news for us with Dockyard Gin.
Why do you think there has been an increase during the last 4 or 5 years?
I think more people are seeing the ability to drink sensibly, have 1 or 2 cocktails, enjoy the evening, but enjoy the drink.
And would you say, you spoke about the gin aficionados who've been drinking a bit for a while, do you think there's more casual gin drinkers that have come in?
Yeah, I think it's broadening its appeal all the time. I think because of the versatility of gin, you can use it in many different ways, in many different flavour profiles, so that broadens the category out for sure.
And we see a lot of gin being produced in Kent. Why do you think the county is such a hotspot for the drink?
I think the county is rich. It's got lots of natural resources. We're also quite an innovative county. I must point out that we're the only ones that make our own spirit in Kent. A bit of a plug for Copper Rivet Distillery. But the other gins are great. You know, they're flavoured in a good way. Ours is the best. Dockyard Gin is the best, of course.
Is there a bit of healthy competition between the gins in the county?
The drinks industry, broadly speaking, is a very competitive industry, but it's a really good, fun, friendly industry. So there's always friendly rivalry within the drinks industry.
And what would you say to the competitors that makes your gin stand out in particular?
Well, as I say, we can trace every element of our gin back to the fields here in Kent, where the grain's grown, and we do the whole process under one roof. So ours has got that traceability factor, but also because we distill our own spirit, we take extra special care in that base spirit that starts with, rather than buying in a spirit. But as I said before, gin's a broad category, and there are lots of fantastic gins both here in Kent and broadly in the southeast and throughout the rest of the UK that bring lots of different aspects to the category. Well,
Matthew, the festival's set to be a great event. Thanks ever so much for coming in.
No problem, thank you.
Now, he's been from the Arctic Circle to the bottom of South America, but now television presenter Simon Reeve is embarking on a mammoth tour of Kent and the UK to talk about his extraordinary travels around the world. Simon can next be seen in the county in Folkestone, and last night we caught up with him in Tunbridge Wells.
Preparing for my tour, I'd been thinking about how I started out in life and I suppose accepting how tricky and challenging it had been for me. And I think it's quite helpful for people who've made a bit of a success of life in some small way to remind others that even if you had a very hard start, things can go, they can work out in the end, basically. So I thought, all right, I'll tell that story of my tricky early life. Yeah, I've had some tricky moments on my travels, definitely, but overwhelmingly my travels have been in safer, glorious, inspiring parts of the world. I've been to hotspots, yes, but they are fewer and further between than I think most people realise. I actually think the world is a very safe and welcoming place, and I talk about that quite a lot, really, how I think, you watch the news, you read the papers, you could think the world all is going to hell in a handbasket, and there's lots wrong, but there's a hell of a lot that's right and wonderful as well. So yes, few tricky times on the travels, definitely, we don't shy away from those. I'm not going away to film a holiday brochure, but I think the world is a safe, welcoming place. Some people travel for the landscapes. I love more than anything travelling for the people, and that means that there's never going to be enough tales to tell. We are the most interesting, extraordinary creature that's ever existed. I'm thinking about the encounters I've had with people, and I'm smiling as I say it. So I think, no, I don't think we're going to, I certainly don't feel like I'm going to run out of people to meet.
It's going to stay rainy this evening across the county, but it'll be milder with lows of just 12 degrees. The rain will intensify tomorrow morning with winds picking up in the west, temperatures of 11. Into the afternoon, conditions will stay much the same, I'm afraid, highs of 12 degrees. Looking ahead to the next few days, we can expect some sun on Friday, but the rain will return at the weekend. Still to come, find out why one of Ramsgate's biggest attractions has been given a £50,000 boost from the government.
I think they're intrinsic to the flavour of the town. They've been here, over 100 years. Probably one of the most iconic views of Ramsgate, other than the Royal Harbour, is the waterfall behind me and these Pulamite Gardens.
and welcome to KentOnline live on KMTV. I'm Keelan Webster. Your top stories on Wednesday the 28th of November. Roadwork worry, time ticking to tackle Tunbridge traffic troubles.
2.5 days to have all that done is, optimistic.
Brexit blues for Brock. No deal could cause major disruption on Kent's motorways.
The impact will be felt on every road in every community in our county.
Riches for Ramsgate's Rock. Prestigious gardens given preservation investment.
What an amazing attraction, and lit up at night, it draws people from miles away.
And in sport, DBD here for 3. Kent cricket star Belle Drummond signs contract extension.
A reminder of our top story this evening. The misery may soon be over for thousands of Kent drivers who face long delays commuting to Tunbridge. But businesses in the town say they're still unsure if roadworks by Tunbridge Station will end on time after they were already delayed earlier this year. The project, which cost £500,000, has caused traffic chaos in the town centre, as Christina Curtis has been to find out.
After months of improvement works around Tunbridge Station, there is still a lot of confusion as to when the work is actually set to be completed. The £500,000 project was started in July and was originally set to end in the autumn, with the most disruptive works predicted to be finished before the end of the summer holidays. However, the traffic problems and delays continued well into this month.
KCC said that the majority of main construction work should be completed by the end of the month, apart from resurfacing works, which are due to start tonight and last for 5 days.
Yet signs around the town said that the overnight closures are set to last for 8 nights instead of 5. And there will still be some pavement work to be done, according to KCC. Long-suffering businesses along the road say although the end could be in sight, they aren't hopeful for the main roadworks to be completed on schedule.
What are we now? Wednesday, so 2.5 days to have all that done is, optimistic. There's been traffic all through the day up until kind of 6 o'clock in the evening, even late at night, and it's queuing right back. It's definitely having a knock-on effect on the traffic.
I mean, I wouldn't have said so personally, but then I'm not doing what they do, and I'm not going to hold my breath. It does get very boring looking at it all day, and you just hope that when they've all gone, the traffic will flow better, as they said it will, and things will be improved.
A spokesman from Kent County Council said 5 nights of resurfacing works start tonight, and from tonight there should be no day works on the highway. Once completed, it's all done road-wise. There will be some pavement works, but they shouldn't interfere with the normal flow of people walking, as it's a wide area. KCC appreciates these works are disruptive to residents and visitors to the town, and we can only apologise for this. Although it's still unclear when these works will be completely finished. When they finally do, the question then will be whether the months of motor misery were really worth it.
Shocking CCTV footage has captured a man stealing jewellery from a pensioner while she was in an Ashford hospital. The thief smashed his way into Carol Hunt's home in Biddenden Road near Tenterden on Monday morning. Meanwhile, the 77-year-old was being cared for by doctors at the William Harvey Hospital after suffering a double heart attack. Anyone with information about the burglary should contact police. Crowds gathered for the opening of a long-awaited Sainsbury's supermarket in Herne Bay this morning. The store in Broomfield unlocked its doors for customers at 9 o'clock after a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The site in the Altera Business Park has been the subject of controversy for the last 2 years. The shell of the building had been completed in 2016, but Sainsbury's stalled plans to launch the supermarket. Upon its opening, it's expected to create between 150 and 200 jobs. One of Ramsgate's most iconic attractions has been given a huge boost in its attempts to preserve it. The town's rock gardens have been slowly decaying, but will now receive a £50,000 investment from the government. I went to take a look at the Kentish landmark. For more than a century, Ramsgate's rock gardens have proudly stood as one of the town's biggest attractions. Commencing in 1894, Father Time is starting to make its mark on the grand old monument. To help conserve this historic rock, the government have pledged £50,000 to Ramsgate as part of their plan to save so-called left-behind coastal communities.
I think they're intrinsic to the flavour of the town. They've been here, over 100 years. Probably one of the most iconic views of Ramsgate, other than the Royal Harbour, is the waterfall behind me and these Pulamite gardens.
So what exactly is Pulamite? Invented by James Pullman back in the 1800s, it's a type of artificial rock that's deemed so realistic it even fooled some geologists at the time of invention. While some might marvel at the history, others might retort that it is just simply a rock. Could Ramsgate not benefit from a £50,000 investment elsewhere?
We need to enhance our leisure and tourism offering, because that's our specific speciality, if you like, and this is just a key part of it. And also, it's, well, what an amazing attraction, and lit up at night, it draws people from miles away.
And part of the main reason the rock gardens need the money is the damage, the wear and tear, which is now affecting the Pulamite.
Here's a prime example of the need for maintenance and restoration, in that what's happened here is, historically, you can see the remnants of the root there that's actually caused the Pulamite to break apart. Now, obviously, the cable's there for safety. It can't be left like that ad hoc and forever and a day, so it is vital, and I believe this is why Heritage England have said, or Historic England, have actually designated this installation as at risk and in urgent need of attention.
Despite the cash boost, it's expected the £50,000 will only cover a study to see what needs to be done. Some believe it could actually cost in excess of £200,000 for repairs to be carried out. So will the money make a significant difference and help the gardens become Ramsgate's tourism rock? Keelan Webster, KMTV. Back now to the news that libraries across Kent could see their opening times slashed if proposals by Kent County Council go through. The plans could save the council £1 million a year, but would see many libraries reduce their opening hours. But should they be changed? We asked shoppers in Chatham.
To cut libraries, I think it's a cruel and nasty thing to cut libraries from local communities. Any kind of cut we need to resist. So cuts in hours, it might sound like, well, it's just a few hours of a cut here and a few hours of cuts there, but that's really the thin end of the wedge.
Definitely no. I don't think they should cut it back, because people need libraries, especially when you see everyone on their phones and stuff. You don't see that many people in libraries, and it's good to force people to go into libraries to just get more into it and get educated and stuff, not only be on their phones.
Why do that? I mean, what's the reason, all this cutbacks on? I mean, there's loads of people must use it. Schools, I mean, they take the children there, don't they? I mean, they did that years ago. They must still be doing that now. So to cut back, disaster, really.
Not really, no, because there's so many people do rely on the library for more than just reading information and that. So no, I don't, no.
I can see why saving money would be a good idea, but I think libraries are really important, and they do a lot more these days than just provide books. So I'd be nervous about them cutting the hours.
Don't forget, you can keep up to date on all things going on in Kent by visiting our website kmtv.co.uk. You can check out some of our latest stories from across the county, like this video about Lizzie Yarnold being awarded an honorary degree.
Graduation is an incredibly proud day for a lot of us. The hats, the gowns and the awards. Behind me you can see the beautiful Rochester Cathedral, and for hundreds of people who have been working for the past few years solidly for their degrees, this is the culmination of all of that hard work. But for two honorary graduates, this is more of a culmination of their life's work being noticed. Lizzie Yarnold and Timothy West were two of the honorary graduates this year. Lizzie, a former Kent schoolgirl and double Olympic gold medalist, became a Doctor of Science.
I present Lizzie Yarnold to be admitted to the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
She retired in the summer and now spends her spare time visiting schools.
It's always a surprise for a sports person to be awarded things like honorary degrees that aren't necessarily what I work for, but it's a wonderful moment to share it with other people, to talk about my sport and the fact that we can do anything we want in life if we work hard enough. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do next, but I do love visiting schools, corporate speaking. I'm doing some work experience as well, just to learn and start afresh. Just because I'm 30 doesn't mean I can't still learn, so we'll have to see.
Also getting an honorary doctorate was Timothy West, a celebrated TV and stage actor.
No, it is. It's lovely. I'm getting an honorary degree from Kent University, and that's made me very proud, and it's going to be wonderful watching so many graduands who are embarking on the life which I know something about.
Timothy and his wife Prunella Scales of Fawlty Towers fame both have an interesting connection to Kent.
I love the Marlow Theatre particularly because I was just explaining. It was my very first line I ever spoke of Shakespeare in a production of Macbeth in 1960 something, I think. But I was involved in the reconditioning of the Marlow a few years ago to make it the wonderful theatre that it is today, and I'm very pleased about that.
Both were incredibly proud to be honoured today by the University of Kent, but that's not to overshadow the achievements of the many students who have taken the next steps in their lives. This is Poppy Jeffrey for KMTV in Rochester.
Coming up after the break, Joe will be back with the sport, and I'll be speaking to Chris Price about what's coming up on the latest edition of our business programme, Chris & Co. All of that to come in a few minutes' time. Welcome back to KentOnline live on KMTV on Wednesday the 28th of November. In case you missed it, Tunbridge traffic troubles, time ticking to solve nightmare roadworks.
There's been traffic, all through the day up until kind of 6 o'clock in the evening, even late at night.
Dover's no deal disruption. Report finds Kent's motorways are at risk.
As we know, if you interrupt the flow of traffic between Dover and Calais, then it has a massive impact on our roads.
Ramsgate's rock refurbishment. Prestigious gardens given government grants.
The cable's there for safety. It can't be left like that ad hoc and forever and a day.
And in sport, Gills hold on. Kent side end losing streak with 10-man win.
Time now for your pick of the papers with a look at what's making the news in print, online and radio across Kent. Earlier on today, I spoke to KMTV's Emma Bevan, who started off by telling me about a development which has run into difficulties in Medway.
So my first story is about the Chatham Waters housing project, which is in a bit of a struggle at the moment because work has stopped. So the future of the £57 million development is now being brought into question because Forest Construction, which was the company that was contracted to building the block, has fallen into financial difficulties. So this means that the 199 apartment scheme, which is actually part of a £650 million master plan by Peel Land and Property, has now been put on hold. So this could mean that more than 100 jobs could be in jeopardy as this construction has been halted. But a spokesman from the Medway Council did say that they are confident that the construction will be back on track very soon.
Yeah, worrying times for people in Chatham. Better news, though, for people living in Rochester.
Yes, definitely. So the winners of the Britain's Got Talent 2014 will be performing in Kent next year. So Calabro, who won in 2014, will be joining the Royal Philharmonica Concert Orchestra as a finale to the Castle Concerts series in Rochester. So the tickets go on sale today, and the event will be taking place on Sunday the 13th of July next year. The crowd can be expecting to hear some Jane Bond soundtracks, as well as classic hits of traditional proms finale like Fantasia on British Sea Songs, Rule Britannia and Jerusalem. So the event will, as I said, be taking place on the 13th of July and will be ending with a bang with some fireworks at the end.
Yeah, somewhat forgotten Britain's Got Talent winners almost, but still a really good coup for the Medway towns. Emma, thanks very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Now with news of a Kent cricket star signing a contract extension, here's Joe with the sport. Joe, good news for Kent fans today. Daniel Bell-Drummond, a new 3-year deal.
A new 3-year deal that will extend his contract until the end of the 2021 season. Now, I think you'd agree with me. I think it's fair to say he struggled in the Red Bull in the past couple of seasons. That saw him drop down the order to number 5 and Zach Crawley move up towards the back end of the last campaign. But I mean, I think you'd agree, been better in the one-dayers.
Yeah, absolutely. In the one-day internationals, he did. It did come in during the one-day cup and also T20 Blast as well.
Can you tell me when he last scored a championship century though?
I know it's a couple of seasons. He got 100 against Australia during a tour match not too long ago, but in the championship he hasn't hit one for a while.
All the way back in 2016, and since he has scored less than 1,000 runs in that time. But it's great news for Kent nonetheless, and he will be a strong point of call next season. And in his announcement, he said that it's a great time to be a Kent cricketer at the moment. Our strong performances across all 3 formats show that we have a squad that can achieve great things. Elsewhere now, and in football, Ebbsfleet made it 6 league games unbeaten as they drew with Maidenhead. New signing Cody McDonald started on the bench, but Fleet took an early lead when Michael Cheek netted his 3rd goal in 2 matches. But the game finished all square when debutant Reece Cole equalised with a free kick. And finally, Gillingham ended a run of 3 league games without a win, beating Bristol Rovers 2-1. Manager Steve Lovell said before the game he wanted to turn those good performances into points on the board. And Rovers had lost their last 4 games and sat 21st in the league, as Gills sat just 1 point clear of the relegation positions. Here's the highlights from last night. 192 Gills fans made the 340-mile round trip to Bristol on Tuesday night, and they weren't disappointed when Elliot List curled this into the corner after just 8 minutes. And the Kent side would be in dreamland when Callum Riley made it 2-0 with this strike from outside the box on the hour. But Bristol almost pulled one back when Thomas Sholey saved the blushes of Bradley Garmston, nearly turning it into his own net. The Gills would have to see the last 20 minutes out with 10 men though, when Riley saw red for this shocking challenge. Rovers did make it 2-1 though with this fabulous free kick from Liam Sercombe on 85 minutes. Agonisingly, the Gills had to hang on through 8 minutes of added time. Holy could only watch as Sercombe struck the post in the 96th minute. In a game with 3 gorgeous goals though, the Gills came away with all 3 points, and the win moves them 4 points clear of the drop zone.
It's going to stay rainy this evening across the county, but it'll be milder with lows of just 12 degrees. The rain will intensify tomorrow morning with winds picking up in the west and temperatures of 11 degrees. Into the afternoon and conditions will stay much the same, I'm afraid, highs of 12. Looking ahead to the next few days, and we can expect some sun on Friday, but the rain will return at the weekend. Coming up after the break is our business show, Chris & Co. In a minute, I'll be speaking to Chris Price about what you can expect on this evening's episode. But first, here's Louisa Britton with this week's Business Roundup.
A group of MPs has warned a no-deal Brexit scenario is highly likely to result in chaos at the port of Dover and cause huge disruption on the county's motorways. A report by the Public Accounts Committee says there's a real prospect of major disruption at UK ports and warns that the Department for Transport will not be ready in time for Britain's exit from the EU in March next year. Preparations for avoiding delays at ports and on motorways are said to be worryingly underdeveloped. The future of a £57 million housing development at Chatham Waters hangs in the balance after a major construction company fell into financial problems. Forest Construction, which has been contracted to build a block of flats overlooking the Medway estuary, issued a statement saying it had made a series of incorrect pre-construction estimates on some of its projects. It's meant the 199 apartment scheme, which is part of a wider £650 million master plan by Peel Land and Property, has been put on hold. It's understood more than 100 jobs could be at risk. The 26-acre former dockyard site has already become home to Medway's University Technical College and an Asda superstore. And bosses at a company believed to be the first in Kent to introduce a 4-day working week say they have already noticed a boost in productivity. Maidstone-based Reflect Digital announced in September they were going to give staff the option of having a 3-day weekend every week while still earning the same. However, they do have to work longer hours on the days they're in the office. In all, 19 of the company's 21 staff have taken up the offer. Earlier this year, the TUC released a report calling for workers to benefit from improvements to technology, enabling them to earn more but have a better work-life balance. It said full-time workers in the UK put in some of the longest hours in the EU.
So Chris & Co coming up in a few minutes' time. Chris, before we get into that, some big news in the business world during the last hour or so. Bit of doom and gloom regarding a no-deal Brexit from the Bank of England.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is it's not really a surprise getting this kind of info from the Bank of England. They do these reports, this kind of investigation, all of the time, and essentially they are looking at what would be the situation for the economy if there was indeed no deal and Britain essentially crashed out of the EU. All of the outlook, the figures aren't very good, to be quite honest. They've said that unemployment will soar to something like 7.5%. During the financial crisis, it soared to about 8, just over 8%. So you get a sort of an impression of the kind of impacts that we're talking about there. They're also talking about a drastic fall in the pound, and obviously the impact that would have on anyone trying to travel abroad. The cost of money abroad will go up massively, and we're also talking about a long-term shrinkage in the economy. So really not very good headline figures, but essentially the key thing to remember is it is an assessment of what the situation will be in the event of no deal, i.e. the worst possible situation for businesses in the economy.
Certainly a big talking point this evening. We'll also be discussing Black Friday, of course, last week, Cyber Monday this week. What was it like for businesses in the county?
Well, the figures haven't been as good as they have been in previous years. I mean, there are some retailers that have done well. In the likes of John Lewis, for example, reported their best ever Black Friday week. But on the other side of that, we've got news that footfall in retail parks, shopping centres has gone down. It's around 6% lower, according to some estimates, compared to last year. So there's this change in the way people are shopping. People seem to be shopping online, but they also seem to be getting it done earlier and then out of the way. Big changes for retailers. Black Friday, although I'm sure will be here to stay.
Yeah, plenty to discuss on Chris & Co. Chris, thanks very much. That's coming up for you in just a few minutes' time. We'll be back with another edition of KentOnline for you at 5:30 tomorrow. See you then.